So let's look at some more examples, but this time we're given the straight line and we have to try and work out what the equation of this line is. Now we could start off by looking and finding out where the line cuts the y-axis. Now this instance here, the line's cutting the y-axis at a point of height 1. So we know we're going to have the equation of a line is going to look something like y equals 1. But that's not the whole story, because we've got it passing through that point, but we don't have the right slope. That is, we don't have the correct gradient. So let's see if we can work out what the gradient is going to be. So the gradient is the steepness of the line, and we define the steepness of the line by the rise, so how far you go up, divided by the run, how far you go along. So in this instance here, from this point 1, say up to the point 4, we've come up 3 boxes, so that's 1, 2, 3, so it's just 4 minus 1, which is 3. So that distance there is 3, and when we come up 3 here, we'll have come along 1 there. So it means the gradient here is going to be 3 divided by 1, the rise divided by the run, which is a value of 3. So we know that in order to write out the equation of this line, we can write y equals, well, we had a value of 1, but we also had to find the gradient. So the gradient is the number just before the x, so it's going to be 3 times the x plus the 1. And there you see that this line runs right over the top of the line there. So the equation of this line is y equals 3x plus 1. So let's have a look at another one. So where does this line cut the y-axis? Well, it cuts the y-axis at a height of 0. So we're going to have an initial start for our guess for our line is going to be y equals 0. But that's not quite right, because we don't have the gradient. Now we have to work out the gradient of this line here. So let's work it out. It's going to be the rise divided by the run. So in this case here, the rise there is 2, so we go up 2, and the run here is 1, we come along 1. So it's going to be 2 upon 1, which is 2. So that means that the equation of our line is going to be equal y equals 2x, and of course we had plus 0, which is plus 0, but you don't need to leave in the plus 0, you just take it out. Okay, so we have our y equals 2x, and that's our line. So let's look at another one. So where does this line cut the y-axis? Well, it cuts the y-axis at minus 1. So the first guess for our line is y equals minus 1. So this line here passes through this point minus 1, but you can see the green line doesn't have the correct gradient, so we have to work out what the gradient of the red line is. So again, the gradient of the red line is going to be the rise upon the run. So in this instance here, if we were to pick a point, say we pick this point here, then we can see that the rise here is going to be from here, say, to this point here. So that's going to be 5 minus 2, so that height is going to be 3, so there's 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3. Now in this instance here, we're going from this point to that point, so we're actually going along a distance of minus 1. We're going from minus 1 to minus 2 here, you see, so that's a distance minus 1. So it means that the rise is 3 and the run is minus 1. So that means that the gradient is going to be minus 3. It's going to be 3 upon minus 1, which is equal to minus 3. So that means that we can then say the equation of this line is going to be y equals, well, we had our value of minus 1, but we've still got to add in our gradient, which is going to be minus 3x. And there you see, this is the equation of the line. It sits right on top. So let's look at another one. So you can see our line in orange here, and we can say, what point does it pass the y-axis? Well, it passes the y-axis at point -4. So our first guess at the line is y equals -4. And we can see that our guess is correct. Y equals -4 runs along that line. So we can see here that it doesn't matter what the x value is, y will always equal -4. So let's look at the last one. So here's our line in red running parallel to the y-axis. So we can ask our question again, when does this line pass the y-axis? Well, the answer is it doesn't cut through the y-axis at all because it runs parallel to it. So in this instance here we can see here that it cuts the x-axis at point 3. So we can take our guess at the equation of the line as x equals 3. And you can see that that sits right on top. And you can see this line here is that it doesn't matter what the value of y is, x is always going to equal a value of 3.